The Future Was Yesterday, a podcast where we talk about the future of work due to the changes in technology, society, and communications in a time in which our real and digital lives intersect to create a new world. To talk about the changes this pivotal moment is bringing to our world, but specifically for those looking to understand the future of work, I want to present my guest today, Intelligence Officer turned Educator, Mr. John Kolm, CEO of Team Results USA and author of Crocodile Charlie and the Holy Grail. John has helped Fortune 500 and federal agencies rethink team productivity, culture, and personal growth with tools designed for measurable impact. John's career has centered around reimagining workplace dynamics through innovative tech, including his new AI-powered platform, Dorothy's Road, which brings executive-level leadership wisdom to professionals across all levels. Welcome, sir, and thank you for being here.
Well, Cesar, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello to everybody tuned in today.
Thank you. And to start the conversation and going maybe directly to the meat of the conversation, I would like to ask if you can tell us a little bit about Dorothy's Road. What is Dorothy's Road?
Yeah, absolutely, Cesar. As I've been running corporate team and leadership programs for many, many years, and in some ways would consider myself to be part of the problem because the people who are clients for that sort of thing are already very heavily advantaged. They're well paid, they're well regarded, they get all the resources, they get the professional development, they get everything they need, they're okay. But what about the average American worker? We put tremendous pressure on them. We're saying pivot, turn around, change, find new opportunities, discover your strengths, apply for new jobs, change your career. And yet we give them very poor resources with which to do it. So that was the origin of Dorothy's Road. It's meant to be a better choice than searching around on the internet, which is, of course, full of garbage, asking your friends, and we love our friends, but they're not always up to date, and asking a colleague at work, which is a bit risky because you have to make yourself vulnerable. So The idea of Dorothy's Road was to put the same kind of quality of high-end, good, properly qualified professional advice into the hands of the average American that is already in the hands of the fortunate Americans, the ones who are well-resourced. But we wanted to make it available to everybody. So it's about information democracy, really.
That sounds wonderful. And when you are telling at hands of everybody, could you tell us who is everybody in this scenario? It's like young people entering into the workforce. It's for people in middle age, maybe looking for how to boost their careers or reinvent themselves in a new challenge, or for students looking for what could be ahead in the road.
With pleasure, Cesar. There are a million possible cases, but it's perhaps most clearly illustrated by example. Let's pick something that's happened to everybody, no matter what age you are or where you are. Let's suppose you're working with somebody who is always late. They're a decent person, but they're just always late. It's driving you mad. There's a cost to it, and they just won't take it seriously. Nothing seems to reach them. So that's when you turn to somebody really wise whom you respect. And if you're well-resourced, you can find such people now. And you say, what on earth do I do? But let's suppose that you are not in that advantaged position. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't know what the heck you're going to do. Well, now you can ask Dorothy. Mm-hmm. So you would go to dorothysroad.com and you would literally type, I have a person who's a good worker, but they're always late. Nothing seems to help, and they're driving me mad. What can I do? And Dorothy will give you very, very useful practical advice on what you can do. And that advice will be based on about 68 world-class experts, because we have about 500,000 words of information from those people sitting inside Dorothy. So you are listening to not to whatever rubbish happens to be scraped from the internet, which is what ChatGPT does. But with Dorothy, you're listening to a room full of world-class experts saying, this is how you deal with it. And if you want to know more, Dorothy will also give you a link you can click on, and she will pick out the most relevant of those world-class experts, and you can actually listen to them talk for about half an hour. So, for example, they might say, well, you should listen to Dr. Darren Campen, who's a world-class expert on bad behaviours in the workplace, and see what he has to say. And if that meets your needs, great, and if not, you keep chatting with Dorothy. The idea is to put really high-quality advice in your hands very easily, at any time of the day or night. Does that paint kind of a picture for you?
It's no, it's very interesting, and I must say that it reminds me a little bit another project I heard very recently. I'm working currently in a project for seniors digital literacy, and there is a club here in Latvia for seniors silver economy, and one group of seniors, all of them, they are retirees from with very high qualifications, that they are looking a way how to create something like that, in which they could use their life experience, their wisdom, their practical wisdom, put them in a platform where people could look for advice, how to solve this problem. If I have X or Y happen to me, what's the best course of action, or the things that you will ask maybe your father or a mentor or an older person, not to look for advice. But in this case, it's this is a project for seniors, not that they are trying to continue being useful and continue being working and providing service and support to the newer generations, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. They do sound very similar to ours. And again, you know, if Jeff Bezos from Amazon wants expert help and advice, he can get it. He can afford it. He just has to buy it.
Yeah.
And he probably already has people on the payroll around him. And that's great if you're Jeff Bezos from Amazon. But what if you're a guy who works in a warehousing business and you've just been made a supervisor and you're not sure what to do, and you've got some other people who are a bit resentful because they wonder why you were the one that was promoted, and you just want somebody really smart to talk to, and you don't want to listen to all the rubbish that's on the internet, people trying to sell you things, nor do you necessarily want to ask your neighbour, and you can't ask the colleague because he's the one who's jealous. So where do you go then? And Dorothy's Road is meant to be the place you can go.
It really sounds, if I may say, something like from the future, that you can have a platform in which you can actually ask for advice, no? It's like something from Star Trek or science fiction, almost. And I would like to ask if that might be the case, if not for this project, but in general, if there is some work of art or maybe a book or a science fiction movie or something that maybe you read or watched when you were younger at some point in your life, that took you to the place where you are now, that you were inspired by that work.
Thank you for the question, Cesar. What a lovely question. By training, I'm a pure mathematician. I'm also a psychologist. I did both. There's a fair amount of overlap in the two. I've mostly worked in psychology these last few years, of course, but I was a mathematician for a number of years in the intelligence community. And I had much the same. There is one book. There absolutely is one book. I'd recommend people read it, or one series of books, actually, that persuaded me that there was a future in automation. And that was the books, plural, written by an American science fiction writer named Isaac Asimov. You may have heard of Asimov.
Yeah.
Asimov was really, although it actually goes right back into Jewish folklore in the legend of the Golem, who was a robot, a clay man, but really it was first in the modern era articulated by Asimov, who said, well, if we're going to have robots and we don't want those robots to be harmful to us, then we're going to need some rules. And Asimov came up with 3 rules for robotics. And that, to my mind, was the beginning of AI, the intellectual beginning of it.
Yeah.
And I've often speculated that had he lived long enough, had he seen the new technologies, I'm pretty sure Asimov would have revised his rules. I think he would have realised that 3 rules is not enough. And the answer we came up with for Dorothy, for the rules that governed her, is we need about 25, I think it's 25 or 26 rules now that govern Dorothy and keep her professional and keep her within professional boundaries. So if you ask Dorothy, should I punch my boss? Dorothy will say what any professional would say, which is, that's an inappropriate question. It's outside my professional boundaries. I can't answer it. Please ask me something I can answer. So that sort of notion all comes from Asimov. And those insights that he had, I think, have governed the whole robotics revolution. And it doesn't always work well. But that was what got me interested in what would be a necessary and sufficient set of rules to make an AI useful and risk-free.
Yeah.
So, yep, I'm going to go with Asimov.
This a lovely answer, and it's a shame that is not a mandatory lecture at schools. No, at least here in Europe, it's not in the curriculum, because and this is something that I think it is very much from Europe, maybe less in the US. Or you are in Australia now, I think, that is not that optimism about the future. Is not here this entrepreneurial spirit about going beyond and build a better future. Is kind of very realistic and pessimistic by experience, unfortunately. And very grounded in what it's really possible. So it's in one hand it's a very good place to live, to have a family, to the standard of living, of course. But on the other hand, there is not a dream of building these kind of things. No, we cannot compare, and this imagination and spirit that other countries have, it's something that it's really missing here.
I hear what you're saying, Cesar, and I agree, and there are certainly days when I despair, but you know what? Those people are out there. They're rare, they're hard to find, you have to make an effort, but there are incredibly smart, incredibly creative, visionary, positive young people out there, and I have the great good fortune to work with some of them. Was it easy to find them? No, I don't think it's easy for any entrepreneur. But if you ask me what the one skill of entrepreneurship is that matters more than any of the others, and also what it is that made the Dorothy's Road project work so well for us and for the people who use it, very simple. I went out and found people who were smarter than me, more creative than me, and more visionary than me. Everybody on the Dorothy's Road team is smarter than me. And they're all young, and that's what makes it so much fun.
You know, there is something in this series of interviews I have been having with very smart people like yourself, that it's having something in common, I think, especially the most forward-thinking people and the ones that looks better adapted to what is coming, or the times that we are living, and is that people that is having a very diverse background, that have a very curious combination of careers and experiences, like you were saying, that mathematician and psychology, and these strange combinations are creating maybe or adapting the minds of people like you to see what others cannot see when things are changing, no, when things are moving. And the other thing constant that I have seen is that all the people that it's more forward thinking. It seems to be very nice person, very nice people as well. Not driven by hubris or ambition. Of course, can be. That is just what I can see, but I think this is something I can see repeating this pattern. No, very cross experience people, cross disciplinaries, and with an let's say a very horizontal way of understand the organizations or understand how their job is done.
Yes. Again, I agree. The fun comes from the people, says ours. AI, of course, is a technical subject, but this isn't a technical story. It's a very human story. And the fun we get is from the people who send us emails saying, I jumped on the Dorothy 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in terrible, and this is a real case. This was a lady who was very torn. Does she stay in the job she's in, which is very well paid, but there's a lot of micromanagement and it's infuriating? Or does she take another job which pays a lot less? That was a real financial hit for her. But on the other hand, the job was more enjoyable. She had more freedom. Difficult question.
Yeah.
So she spent a lot of time on Dorothy, listened to a couple of the experts, had a long conversation with the Dorothy engine. And the Dorothy engine dips into the advice from the experts that it doesn't scrape the internet and give you rubbish. It dips into 500,000 proprietary words of information that only Dorothy has. And you know who you're listening to as well. It's not anonymous advice. She'll say, well, this is what Dr. David Charney says. This is what Dr. Darren Campen says. This is what whoever else says. And having listened to all that and waited, she made a decision. Still a very hard decision. But the human story that came back to us from that is what makes us happy. The thought that maybe people have been helped. A lot of folks out there in the workforce, they're being lectured. Everybody has a viewpoint they think needs to be heard. Sometimes they're even being bullied, but they're very rarely being helped. They're being told, you must do this, you must do that, you have to pivot, you have to adjust, roll with the punches, blah, blah, blah. But how? How? And where is that expert who's going to help me down the right path and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes? Those people are hard to find until now. And I think AI has great potential if it's wisely used to put not recycled, scraped garbage, but real human wisdom into the hands of the ordinary people. And if you want to quote your authors, here I'm thinking not just of Asimov, but of Arthur C. Clarke, because that was certainly Arthur C. Clarke's vision.
Yeah. And something that I'm getting from this process or this approach, and I think it may come from your times as an intelligence officer. I was in the military as well as in the Navy, and
Before we go any further, thank you for your service. Now please continue.
Thank you. And making decisions is something that you do every day, or you help others to do every day, and the work is bring as much information as you possibly can, in the most honest way that you possibly can, to the person making the decision, can evaluate all the facts and let this person take the decision. No, and I can try to. I think that I hear this approach, with what you're doing with Dorothy.
One of my heroes is a man named Kolm, and I hope people recognise him, but some of the very young people might not. So Kolm was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States, and then he was Secretary of State. And he had many famous sayings about leadership, but probably my second all-time favourite was that leadership decisions of the kind you're talking about there, Cesars, are made, this is Powell talking, not me, with between 40% and 70% of the available information. So if you have less than 40, you probably aren't ready to make your decision yet. If you have much more than 70, you might be dithering. You might have waited a little bit too long. And so hopefully, and what we're finding is what people are doing with Dorothy'sRoad.com is they're doing that. They're mining away. They're asking more questions. They're saying, to Dorothy, no, that doesn't really meet my needs. You're answering for a white-collar environment. I work in a mechanic shop. And Dorothy's, oh, sorry, well, I didn't know that. Let's try something different. And they just keep chipping away until they hit that 70%. And when they feel they've hit that 70%, they're ready to make their decision.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I want to ask you now, because we are touching a little bit about these tools, this kind of tools for helping people find solutions or find answers in their daily lives or for their works. And we talk a little bit about science fiction, and I want to make you a question about the future of work. What do you think that is the biggest misconception that you think people is having about the future of work, that AI is going to come and take all of jobs, or is going to be the T-1000 tomorrow coming for all of us? What's your opinion on that?
For those who don't follow the movies, the T-1000 is a robot monster that goes wrong. It's actually a very good movie, and it reminds me of a famous saying from the Australian philosopher and writer Clive James, who said, "It is only when machines go wrong that they remind us how powerful they are." And that's what the T-1000 is all about. The biggest mistake, you put your finger right on it there, Cesar's, the biggest misconception, without doubt, that has been around actually for decades, is that machines will replace us. No, they won't. That's been a fear that's been around since Arthur C. Clarke. You can find him talking about it in the 1950s, how human beings will become redundant. Well, look around you. Have human beings become redundant? No. Machines, automation, technology creates more jobs, not fewer jobs. Better jobs, not worse jobs. Bigger demand, not less demand. We don't have, ask the CEO of Microsoft, they'll happily tell you, we don't have enough people who are qualified to do the jobs that are out there now that have been created by technology. Esther Dyson was the daughter of Freeman Dyson. Freeman Dyson was one of the greatest physicists this country ever produced, and he should have won the Nobel Prize. He absolutely should have. His daughter Esther became chairperson of the ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. So when you get on the internet and you register fredsmechanicshop.com, that's who's registering that to you. That's who manages all of that. And Esther famously said, the only true competitive edge, the only one that you can't buy your way into by purchasing the same computer that everybody else has got, is the human being. So that's my answer to your question. If you have a great computer and I get jealous and you're taking business from me with your great computer, guess what? I can go out and I can buy a great computer too. If you have a great AI programmer, I can go to the market, I can buy a great AI programmer too. So your advantage in technology is temporary. It's fleeting and short. The only real advantage is how unique are your human beings? How much can you invest in your human beings? How ingenious are they? How smart are they? How far ahead of the curve can they get you? So my advice would be to people, number one, quit worrying about being replaced by machines. And number two, invest in the human being.
And talking about this, and I think this was a wonderful answer. But with the speed that things are moving, I think, and I would like to ask your opinion about that. But shouldn't we have the focus now on the education system to do something? And I'm talking from to the young kids, because it's still this debate if we should give them the devices, the iPad, if we shouldn't, what to tell them, and now if we are going to allow them or not to use AI in the classroom. It's for example, here in the leading education countries, Finland and Estonia, they have totally opposite visions of the AI in the classroom. No, one is saying we shouldn't, and the other is saying we should. What is your opinion on education in this regard?
Well, I'm old enough to remember the slide rule. And for those who don't remember the slide rule, before computers, you could buy a ruler with a slide in the middle, and it took advantage of logarithms. And by sliding it backwards and forwards, you could do very large arithmetic calculations just with this mechanical device. It was really very clever. And everybody in school had one. And I remember the day that we were issued with slide rules at school. It was the newest thing. Suddenly every student should have a slide rule. It was a big debate. There was a huge debate, it says, it's a huge debate about whether that should be done and whether that was cheating. And now, could you be, a huge debate. Should you be allowed to go into a test or an examination with your slide rule? And we had teachers pulling our slide rules apart and inspecting them to see if we'd written cheat notes on the slide, in the slide rule. So history repeats, education is essential. Technology is not a threat. But I would say this to people, technology is a very good servant and a very bad master. And the time when technology becomes contrary to the purpose of education is when we let it become the master. So kids will be lazy if they're given a chance. The time when the essays are all being written by AI and then also all corrected by AI is not the fault of AI, it's the fault of human judgment, of the people in charge. And they should just have a little bit more sense than that. Kids being able to think for themselves is really the answer. A very wise person once told me, I was a 22-year-old mathematician, brand new, just out of university, thought I knew everything, and, was fascinated by computers. And a crusty old mathematician who was in charge of us said, all a good mathematician needs is a sharp pencil, a yellow legal pad, and a large pot of coffee. And he was right.
Yeah. And
maybe one day there will be a plug-in substitute for the human brain, but I have spent my life studying the brain, says ours, and I'm here to tell you we are nowhere within even a cooey, nowhere within shouting distance of being near. So we're going to have to rely on people, and for them, education is essential. Back to you.
Really, it's a masterclass that what we are receiving today. Thank you very much. And we are almost running out of time, but I want to ask you before we leave, if you will have one piece of advice to the workers or the employees and the leaders or the directive level in a company, how to prepare for these changes that are occurring and at incredible speed, and we expect they are going to transform the workplace by the end of the decade. What could be a practical advice for employers and employees, how to prepare for these times or for what is ahead?
Cesar's the best advice I would have for anyone caught in this maelstrom of innovation and change. And by the way, it's always been like that. If you asked a Roman farmer what his biggest challenge is, he would have told you innovation and change. But if you want to stay above water in that, the best advice I can give everyone is stop theorizing and try it. You can drive yourself mad theorizing. You go around and around in circles. So I would like to invite everybody listening today to just give it a try. Just go to www.dorothysroad.com. It's Dorothy as in the Wizard of Oz. So www.dorothysroad.com, log in. You'll have to log into ChatGPT on the way because she uses the ChatGPT engine. The engine is very good. The data is terrible. The engine's great. But Dorothy's Road uses her own data. Go there, log in. Tell her, pour your heart out. Tell her what your thoughts are about your workplace. Say anything. Talk to her as you would a person. See what she says and see if indeed this world of AI can yield anything useful to you.
Thank you very much. We're going to put the link in the description below. And I just want to tell you thank you so much, John, for your time, your kindness, your thoughts and expertise. And I hope it won't be the last time we are talking.
My pleasure, Cesar. Thank you, and good luck to everybody in their work journey.
Thank you very much. And thanks to our couple of listeners. Remember, we learn from each other, I wish you agency and a wonderful day. And remember, the future was yesterday. Thank you very much.